Welcome to Handi Quilter Watch and Learn. Today, we want to discover the differences in the stitch modes and when to use them. I'm Kim Sandberg, and today my sidekick in the lab is
Kristina Whitney.
And we are, as I just said, going to talk about stitch modes. We get so many questions about this, don't we?
We do.
So we thought it would be great to do a video about this. We put on our lovely lab coats, and we spent a lot of time really digging into this, figuring out all of this stuff. But I think the first thing we need to do is have Kristina do a visual explanation of the different stitch modes that will stay with you forever, and you will always remember which mode to use.
I was trying so hard to be serious as a scientist.
Wow. And how about if we take off the lab coats and then we don't have to be serious anymore?
Oh, you were smart. You didn't button yours.
No, no.
Oh, and the safety glasses, those are gone too.
Yeah, those are gone too.
Okay.
Whew. Okay.
I've got wardrobe change here.
So, now, Kristina has another wardrobe change very quickly here. So, Kristina is now workout Kristina. So, Kristina, are you ready to explain to us?
Yes. I'm using my daughter's headband, and the Nike symbol keeps falling in my eyes. I think it's time for a new headband.
Should we get out of
quilting? It's not even centered.
Yeah.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay, I'm ready to work out.
Whew. Okay, all right.
Stitch modes.
Stitch modes.
On our Handi Quilter machines, we have 3 different modes that we can choose from.
Right.
First is manual mode.
Okay.
Manual mode is when that needle is just continually cycling at a certain speed. You control the stitch length.
Right.
Then you can also go into regulated mode.
Right. And in regulated, we have how many modes?
2. So within regulated, and that means that the machine is regulating our stitch length, we have 2 options. The first is our precision mode.
Right. Precision.
Okay. And we're going to show you those symbols and everything so that we'll try to make it as clear as we can.
Yeah.
So precision mode and then also cruise mode.
Right.
Precision mode is we're jogging. Woohoo!
Or at least Kristina is.
And this is how I got the name Foxy Moxy Dancer.
That's right.
I'm such a dork. But you come up to a stop sign. Okay?
Right.
You're jogging along, you stop. And you probably can't see this, but I've got like one leg up.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in that position, that cycle.
You're stopped exactly where you stopped in the cycle.
Yes.
There.
Okay.
Done.
Same with precision mode.
Okay.
Your needle, when you stop moving that machine, the needle's going to stop wherever it is in that cycle.
Okay.
Okay. When the light turns and I get ready to go, I have to take a little bit of effort to get moving again.
That's right.
Okay. So same thing with precision. You're going to feel just a slight lag as you get going, and the needle's going to continue to cycle.
Right.
Okay. The next one is our cruise mode.
Right.
And this one's really fun because I'm jogging along, I come up to the stop sign, and I'm just going to jog in place. Whoop.
Keep going. Keep cycling.
Going. And Kim's going to have to talk through the rest of the video. Okay? The needle is going to cycle even though the machine's not moving.
That's right.
When that light turns, I'm ready to go.
Exactly. Because
Okay?
you're already moving.
I'm already moving. But as I'm paused, that machine is paused there and continually cycling, I'm going to continue to get some stitches there.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the benefits of that.
Right.
Or if you don't want that to happen, why it's not a benefit.
Exactly.
Okay. Headbands off.
Are we ready to?
I can breathe. Okay.
Okay. Now that you've got your exercise for the day.
Yes. So that's our explanation of the difference between precision and cruise. So people oftentimes are scared to change the buttons on their machine.
Right.
They don't understand the difference and why and when you would use those.
Yep.
So that's what we really want to talk about today.
Right.
So what do we want to start with, Kim?
Let's start with manual. Let's explain to everybody, because if you're stitching in manual, it's just like, for example, free motion stitching on your domestic machine, because you are the stitch regulator. The machine is not doing it for you. You set a speed and it just regulates at that. And then we can move into regulated.
Okay.
So we've got the machine here. We've got the screen pulled up. We're going to take a look at that. So if we look now at the screen, this right here, you can see that nice little green circle around it. I just touched that. It's M for manual. And on all of our machines, you know, it's not, the screen is not necessarily going to look exactly like this, but the symbols are the same. It doesn't matter which machine you're on. So we've got manual. You can see that there's a speed below that. So you want to explain that for us, Kristina?
Okay, that's the speed of how fast that needle is going to cycle. And you can also program it to some presettings if there's certain speeds that you like. And this number is something that each individual is going to need to play with to find what they are comfortable with. It's going to be different for each person and also for each project and what they're actually doing.
So the pre-programmed ones are, for example, the 700, the 1300, and the 1800 there. And you can change those by, I can, for example, do a minus here, and that 1575, what I can do is hold down this one here, and it should record as that. There we go.
Okay.
So I now have that top speed set at 1575 with the preset.
Okay. So I'm actually going to go down to start with, because sometimes I get scared. And another thing that I want to make sure is I need to turn my gears off.
That's right.
So that I can move the machine freely. Okay, I want to get back to my Amara screen. And again, we are in manual mode right there. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys watching this needle and watching how it cycles. And if I move the machine fast, I want you to look at my stitch length. And if I move it slow, watch the stitch length. So I'm going to move fast and slow. Fast and slow.
You know, I think another thing, another way that you can easily tell whether you're in manual or regulated is just listening to the motor of the machine. Do you hear that nice, gentle hum?
Yes.
And it's consistent. That lets you know you're in manual because the motor is just going to keep cycling at exactly the same speed. It doesn't matter how fast or slowly you move the machine.
Okay, I upped my speed to 825.
Okay.
So that means that the needle's going to cycle faster, so I'm going to get shorter stitches.
Right.
So if I am stitching really fast, higher speed will be better.
Oh, there you go.
So fast and slow. Fast and slow. And again, that nice hum.
Yeah, and you could really see a difference in those stitch lengths there.
Yeah, look at that stitch length versus this first one.
These ones are what we like to call toenail catchers.
Yes.
And then this is almost, that's really falling into like micro work.
Yeah, tie-offs. So I'm glad that you mentioned micro work because for me, manual mode is my go-to mode whenever I'm doing micro quilting.
I am right there with you on that one.
I like to put my handlebars all the way down and I can get up nice and close and really get in there and do some nice, smooth micro quilting.
And often the goal with micro quilting is that you just want to really quilt that fabric down. You want to pack it down. So having the smaller stitch length is perfect. Plus, the quilting pattern that you're quilting is so small, stitch length really doesn't matter. So that's another reason why manual is really great for micro quilting.
Yeah. So that's my go-to mode for the micro quilting. Okay, let's move into some regulated quilting now.
Okay, yeah, let's take a look at some regulated quilting. So let's refresh everybody's memory on the two different types of regulated.
Okay, first of all, precision. It's the dashed lines that go in a circle.
So it's this one right here on the screen.
Yep. So that one you can change the stitch length using your screen with those plus and minus buttons.
Yep.
And again, the machine's only going to cycle when the machine is, the needle is only going to cycle when the machine is moving.
Exactly.
So, some people ask, when would you use this mode?
Yeah, when do you use precision?
I am actually going to do a little drawing here.
Okay.
Let me grab a handy pencil and I can just draw right on here. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to do a design that has a V.
Okay.
Can we see that?
It's got a nice point up here at the top.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's say my needle cycle is down, 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 down. I'm doing these beautiful stitches, down, and then I've got one right here. If I move the machine up further to that point, and I stop the machine, it hasn't finished its full cycle.
Right.
It's not going to take a stitch in that point.
Right.
It's going to take another stitch over here causing a flat point along the top.
Exactly.
Okay, so for people that are wanting sharp points, this is probably not the best mode to be in.
Right. Unless if you are really watching that needle to make sure that it's completing the cycle, which I always look ahead when I'm quilting. I'm not looking at the needle. So
yeah. So if sharp points, I try to avoid being in precision. So when would you use precision?
That's the question.
So I like to sometimes tell people to do precision when they need to think.
Okay.
Do you ever start doing a design and you're like, where am I going? What's next? So if you need to pause and think about where you need to go, this is a good option because you're not going to have that needle continually cycling and making those stitches and that buildup right there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip for when to use precision.
Yeah. A lot of other people really enjoy using precision mode when they're doing ruler work.
Right.
So I've actually got a ruler here.
Okay.
I think I've got the ruler base on it already. We'll do a little stitching here. And I've got my Surefoot on.
Okay. Yeah, ruler safety. So ruler base, Surefoot, the right size, the right kind of ruler. We always take a second to talk about that anytime we're going to use rulers. And I noticed that you just changed the setting there on the screen. So you just changed it so that when you stop stitching, it will end with the needle down.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So a benefit with doing precision is I can stitch along, and as I pause, I can adjust my hand positioning without it doing a whole bunch of stitches. However, I found that a lot of beginners, they think that they've hit the done button and that it's done, and they move away, and then they hit the machine and it takes off stitching.
Yeah, and that's a safety issue. So
I don't always recommend precision mode for rulers, but some people really like that mode. The biggest thing here, find what works for you.
Yeah, and give it a try. If you've never tried precision mode with rulers, give it a try and see if you like it. That's the only way you're going to find out if you do.
Exactly. Okay, anything else you want to add with precision mode?
Precision mode can be really great too when you're doing a really flowy, just all over quilting, like stippling, for example. Something that isn't going to have any sharp points. That is when I will choose to use precision, a simple all over. You have that nice consistent stitch length, and you're not, if you do happen to pause to think for a second about how you're going to get out of that corner you just quilted yourself into, it's perfect because it allows you to think about it without having to switch the machine off before you, and keep stitching. So, yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about
precision. The needle cycles only when the machine is cycling. I'm going to say that like 50 times because we learn by repetition.
Right.
Okay. Moving on to cruise mode.
Right, cruise.
And the symbol for the cruise mode looks like recycling. It's two arrows, curved arrows that make the circle. And within cruise, you have the choice to adjust your speed.
Right, along with your stitch length.
Along with your stitch length, yeah. You have two options. So right now, my settings are at 12 stitches per inch.
Right.
And the speed is set at 25, and that's that number right there. I really enjoy using this slower speed when I'm doing my ruler work.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to bring this back over here and do the same thing I did before. Okay. As I'm stitching along on the ruler, nice. See how that's going to continue to cycle even though I'm not moving the machine.
It's a very, very slow cycle though, so you don't have to be so concerned about a lot of thread buildup right there.
Yes.
I like that.
So remember how I talked about in my analogy with the running, how sometimes in precision mode, when the light turns green and it's your turn to go,
right,
you have almost a little bit of a delay or a lag. If I'm in cruise mode while I'm doing this, I can kind of pause, but it's not going to cycle really fast. I'm not going to get a whole bunch of stitches, but it's going to be a smoother movement when I continue stitching.
Okay, I really like that.
I really like the cruise mode at a really low speed for doing ruler work.
Okay. Now, if you're stitching, for example, say an all over free motion edge to edge design in cruise, do you keep it at that lower cruise speed? So what kind of a speed do you set it at?
Oh, I haven't found like that magical number. I change it a lot,
Okay.
but I usually say for something like that, like the 250 range.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say I stitch it about the same, I'd say anywhere from 200 to 300. It just depends on how quickly, how fast I want to get that project finished.
Yeah. And you still also have to remember that you can't stitch so fast that you're outstitching the stitch regulator.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to get that consistent stitch length.
Yes, that's
So
very
even though
important.
that the cruise is set fast, the needle cycling fast, that doesn't mean that you can go as fast as you want to.
That's right. That's right. Doesn't matter how quickly you need to get that quilt done. Sometimes you still have to stay within if you want the stitch regulation, you want that nice, even, consistent stitch, you have to quilt within those parameters for your machine. Another tip I just thought of with precision, and we always tell people this when we do retreats and teach, is your machine, if you have an Amara, a Forte, or an Infinity, they all have the laser to the needle. And you know that machine is turned off if you can see that laser on the fabric.
Yeah.
If you look down at your machine and you don't see that laser on, that means that your machine's still on. So be careful with that. It's something you can look for. I know it's kind of an opposite there.
Yeah.
Machine off means red light on.
Let's also show them on the screen here where the play button is and the pause button, so we know just by looking at the screen.
Okay.
So right now the machine is turned off and that pause button is green.
Right.
If I turn the machine on, it is now green on the play button.
Exactly.
Once I turn the machine off, the green is on the pause.
Exactly. So that's another indicator. All of our machines on the display have something similar to this that shows if the machine is stitching.
Yeah.
So it shows up
And
there.
I always say when the machine is on, but I was recently told that I need to use a different term because the power to the machine is on, and if I
Right.
tell them to turn it off, they're turning the power off instead of stopping the stitching.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
pause your machine.
Yes.
Or unpause your machine.
Yes.
So.
And for all of our quilters out there who are stationary quilters, if you quilt on a suite or a capri and you have stitch regulation with it, either true stitch or the insight table on those, all of this information, the symbols are the same. The screen's going to look just a little bit different, but you have all of these same modes that you can use, which is really great. It's fantastic to be able to use that on a stationary machine too.
Yep. So, just to reiterate, because I said I had to say it how many times?
I know.
And I forgot to count how many I've already done it. Okay, manual mode. You are the stitch regulator.
Right.
Depending on how fast you move that machine, or for stationaries, move the fabric, you are the one that determines the length of the stitch.
Correct.
Okay, within regulated, you choose precision
Right.
or cruise. Precision is where the needle cycles only when the machine is moving.
Right.
Okay.
Or if you're using a stationary machine, that means your fabric is moving.
Correct.
Yep.
Cruise mode, the needle will cycle at whatever speed you have it set at. When it's paused, that's how fast it's going to cycle, but as you're moving, it's going to cycle to keep that stitch regulated.
Right.
So you'll get those nice stitches as the machine's moving. Again, you'll get build up if you hold the machine still for an extended period of time, and it will continue to cycle.
Exactly.
So
I think
hopefully that helped clear up some of those misconceptions. Hopefully got rid of some of your fears. I think the thing that I really want most people to get out of this is to go out and try the different stitch modes. Try them using different techniques like the rulers, the micro quilting, free motion, and decide what works best for you as an individual.
Yep.
So.
And on the project you're working on.
Yep.
Depends on what you're working on. Well, now that we've answered the questions you have about stitch regulation, let's take a minute and talk about the quilt that's behind this. So this is a really special quilt that I was very excited. We just got to quilt in the studio. This was made by Connie Eagle, who is one of our longtime employees here at Handi Quilter. She's an avid quilter. She was so excited to make this. She made this quilt for Sarah, who is Casey, one of our truck drivers. This is like a whole convoluted how we're all related and
Welcome
connected.
to the family.
Yeah. Casey's daughter, Sarah, who has worked here summers, things like that. Connie made this for her as a wedding gift. And I think this is one of the funnest things about our job is that anytime somebody in the company has a big life event, usually we're able to make a quilt for them or help in some way. So what a fun quilt. Sarah loves cats, so we quilted it with a great cat quilting motif. And stitch regulation was used on this quilt, on all of it. It was actually quilted with a Pro Stitcher.
Yep. Congratulations, Sarah, and excellent job, Connie.
Yes. Thanks for letting us help out with it. Well, we want to say thank you to you, our viewers, for joining us this week. I really hope that we answered all of the questions that you have about stitch regulation. If we didn't, be sure and drop us a note in the comments, and we'll see if we can find an answer for you. Now, be sure to have fun quilting.